Welcome. You've found your anchor at the crossroads of power and presence. This is Musings and Modalities. It's time to move beyond the noise and cultivate a legacy rooted in values aligned leadership and earth energy. We've evolved the conversation, bringing you a grounded perspective on embodying true luxury and beauty in your life and work. If you feel the resonance of truth and are ready for the shift, you are home. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm Tristen Stawicki, and I'm so excited for today's episode entitled Visual Storytelling for Purpose-Driven Entrepreneurs with Roxanne Engstrom. Before I dive into the episode, I want to discuss my summer offer. You've spent decades building a life that looks successful, but you know your profound legacy is meant to be far greater than your current output. If corporate exhaustion and uncertainty are blocking your path, it's time for decisive change. This 12-week one-on-one Musings and Modalities container is the definitive strategic framework designed to eliminate burnout and anchor you into your most impactful decade. This is the energetic and strategic makeover required to claim your next level. In this, you'll get radical clarity where I design the exact blueprint of your legacy and implement a values-aligned strategy to build it, ensuring every action aligns with your true purpose. This includes unshakable authority, exchanging the need for external validation with grounded self trust, positioning you as the leading embodied authority you're meant to be. And of course, this includes proven results, where you'll get that profound transformation that immediately delivers measurable relief from the tired, mad, and blah cycle affecting your health, your wealth, and your love. With only 4 exclusive slots available, this opportunity is reserved for those ready to commit to their quantum leap in impact and income. You can book your legacy call today at musingsandmodalities.com and step into your true power. And now I'd love to introduce Roxanne Engstrom. Roxanne is the founder and visual storyteller behind Hawa Images. She is the mother of 4, wife to Jason of almost 25 years, entrepreneur, MS warrior, and visual storyteller who pursues living vulnerably and confidently and helping others do the same. What lights her up is seeing women feel seen, empowered, and both encouraged and challenged to really live wide awake and abundantly. As a visual storyteller, she helps purpose driven entrepreneurs show up with clarity and confidence and connection through brand photography that goes deeper than a headshot, so their visuals finally match the true value they bring and their connection with their ideal clients, and to share their story with intention and strategy. This is so beautiful. I love your purpose. Roxanne, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tristan, for having me. And I love women that choose to share their platform with other women. So that's kudos to you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We met recently at a dinner that was so fun. And what
Yeah.
I loved about that dinner that I co-hosted in Raleigh with Christy Straw is that I immediately was like, oh, this is a person I want to hang out with. This is a person that like shares my values. This is a person that lights up every person in the room, and makes them a better version of themselves. So I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel the same. That was awesome. Thank you, girl.
Absolutely. So let's talk about visual storytelling, kind of defining for the audience what that is and how you got your start there.
Yeah, I think, I share that I'm a visual storyteller instead of leading with I'm a photographer. Because for me, photographers take pictures. And I know that for some people, maybe that's just like a word, but I think that words really matter and they have power. And I try not to take anything from anyone that I'm collaborating with. So for me, I don't even really say I take pictures. I try not to say that. I co create images with my clients or with people. And really, how I got started in this is it didn't really photography sort of I joke it sort of happened to me um, and I found it through the desire to like express what I was experiencing and the stories of others. But it really found me through like people and their stories. I lived on a small island off the coast of East Africa for 4 years. And when I moved there, I think, you always, at least this is how God gets me into stuff in my life. I never really know what's going to happen, or I probably wouldn't have moved, right? It was all the hard and the challenge, but also wrapped up in that is probably some of the richest 4 years of our lives as a family. Um, and I really arrived thinking like, oh, like we were there doing educational and NGO work. I'm like, oh, I have something to offer. And what I quickly realized is I had everything to learn,
Mm.
and I really made real friendships that were forged across like a lot of differences. And I decided like this is so powerful, but like what people in the US think about my friends is just not the reality. And it's too sacred and holy for me to just tell my version of this story. And I saw a lot of like unethical, what I would consider now unethical storytelling, where, foreigners come in, maybe quote unquote with the best of intentions. I feel like people of privilege and power love to just rely on their intentions and would straight up actually tell lies, or the language barrier was there, things like that. um and I'm like, that's not really what's happening, or that's not really what the folks that had become dear friends to me wanted to share. So I started taking photography classes, but the joke was on me because power was very unreliable. So I would have these courses online that I could never log into or be on, but I had like the printouts, and then I would just study and learn and um, go around. But I really started waiting until I was invited in by friends or people in my community, and that changed everything. So I always say relationships over images became like a huge part of my philosophy, but that's how it started for me. And it might seem weird, like, how did you get to doing brands now? But to me, it completely tracks, because to really tell someone's visual story is not just about angles and lighting and making them look good. And it's definitely not just about a perfect headshot. It's about honoring their story in a dignifying way and taking the time to get to know what makes them special and what they want to be seen and known for. So I came home from that experience like profoundly changed, and I've never been able to be the same again from that. So honoring stories is really important to me.
That's so beautiful. And what I love is that you took something that you were learning kind of through your heart and through your spirit, as well as actually like there's a lot of mechanics that goes into photography. There's a lot of like, for lack of a better term, science behind it, right? Like
Oh
aperture
yeah.
and different things. And it's I'm always so impressed with photography because getting a shot that tells a story, has the right timing, and truly shares the essence of something, right? Rather than capturing, right? Rather than using words that have that taking mentality, but really saying
Yeah.
like, there's a vulnerability here. And if you could kind of walk us through how you kind of deal with when you have a client that has a lot of vulnerability, because that was definitely me when I started
Mm.
showing up in my business, especially the first few years, and really creating an environment that allows them to feel safe and seen.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and I try not to use the word capture either, which is so hard because that's like the language that's used, but it's also very colonialistic. There's lots of problematic things with just, and again, I'm not trying to be like the politically correct word police. I really do believe that the way that we talk about things is the way that we do things. And so for me, vulnerability is huge, and that's one of the reasons why I will never ask someone to do something I'm not doing. So I do this myself twice a year. I try at least once a year. um I also, and for me, like, I think people that know me now might think like, oh, it's so easy for her to show up. Girl, bye. I used to sweat through my clothes when I was like doing a live, or like, and so I think it's like a muscle, confidence, and it's almost like exposure therapy to vulnerability. And again, vulnerability that has boundaries, because you will not catch me talking about a lot of things online because it's not appropriate. Um, and there's boundaries around things in my life. But for me, before I ever pick up the camera, and I offer free discovery calls, but I always tell my clients, like, don't hire me if you're not prepared to be sick of me. Because for me, a lot of the work comes before I do not, I say this all the time, I will not roll up at your location and take my camera out of my bag.
Mm.
That's not, I'm just not that photographer. Um, and there's a lot of great ones that do, and that's fine. But for me, I try to get to know my clients, their business, their story, their like their offers, their why they started, their why, like their client experience, what makes them different. Because in a world where increasingly, especially with AI, everything is kind of looking the same or sounding the same, right? Um, that is how you stand out, is with your unique story. And my clients really say, a lot of times I hear from them that like the strategy part of this was huge for them, because the intention around that and the strategy was really really big. So
Mm.
I try to like be, hype woman, cheerleader, encourage them. I show poses. Like nobody is ever going to feel like they don't know what to do with their hands on a shoot with me, you know? Um, but we also create an entire brand guide. We have a planning call. So like they know part of that vulnerability is because they don't know the unknown. It's already hard enough, especially the messages women get about their bodies and about who they are, to show up and take up space. But I try to make sure that they, as much as they can know, they do know. And then I allow space during our actual session to do that. I also feel like I hear a lot of people, and an amazing mom and woman of color that I was on a podcast with. I will always say that she's the one that shared this with me, and it was amazing. But she said, you can't create places of safety for people. You can only invite safety. Safety is felt by each individual. So I can never say I create safe spaces. What I try to do and what I work really hard at is inviting safety, and people
Mhm.
decide, that for themselves. So I, especially in my past, self-described hot mess, don't have it all together, take messy action, but I show up as my full real self so that clients know that perfection is not the goal, but like presence and being real is. And I think, that's my whole ethos, people over photos. And so I really want to take the time. Like my client on Friday, she's amazing. Lost her keys. We were running late. I was like, girl, nobody's worried. Everybody's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, and I just want people to know that, like, before I'm worried about just, your gallery, like the experience is as important to me as the final gallery.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's how you make people feel, because they don't forget that, you know. Well, like as you shared, you're updating kind of your branding, your business changes, you know. Even like I had my like style colors done, you know, and so even something like that, as you get more information and new information, that you're kind of adjusting things, but people know consistently that they can go to you and like who they are in that moment, how they're feeling, what truth they want to share with their clients or potential clients is so beautiful and so lovely. And so I so appreciate you offering the invitation to those spaces and tweaking as you need to with each individual person.
Yeah, and that's like, I always say I take on a limited number of clients, and part of that is because of the other things I have going on in my life. And my other first things, I try to keep first things first, right? Don't always get the perfect balance. I don't even know if that exists, but it's like a rhythm. But one of the reasons I do that too is because like I kind of low key become a little bit obsessed with my clients, and they become friends, and I'm cheering them on and I want them to win.
Mm.
And I think that's who I was before I pivoted to brand photography. So it was such a natural fit. I'm always like, I always say like I tell my kids this all the time, pay attention to like what lights you up, what needs in the world you see that you can impact for good, and use your gifts. Like that's a God thing. Like he gave you that and put that in you. Like the things that keep you up at night, how can you impact change in a positive way? And I think for me, one of the things I want to do is like help women to know that they don't have to wait to claim space or be successful, that they can define that on their own terms, because success for me looks very different than it does for someone else. Um, and yeah, I love seeing women feel empowered to take up space, earn, make money, change the world. Because we know that when women make money, communities get better statistically.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm obsessed. I'm like, let's go. We ride at dawn. You know what I mean?
Aw, amazing. No, absolutely. And especially as there's often these times when we're mid shed or like my dear friend Sandy Davis says, that messy middle. And so when I think about the times where I've like kind of stretched myself to be like, okay, it's time to update branding. I'm stepping into that woman that I know, but having that kind of photograph and having kind of that visual story to be able to, on those hard days, remember, you know, who you are and remember that
Yeah.
you're always becoming. So I'd love to talk about how that really translates into real business impact for those purpose-driven entrepreneurs and how kind of updating the branding does really matter in their journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of this is, I think that often if any of the women listening can relate, right? If you're an entrepreneur or if you're in business, right? We often are juggling a lot of things at home, a lot of things in business, and we have to, right? For a lot of time, be heads down, just like get it done. Like get it done, focus, lock in, as my teenagers would say, right? But I think sometimes we don't take the time needed to reflect and celebrate what we've already built. And
Mm.
I think that that celebration of what we've already built is important, not just because it does fuel the next season, right? But because it matters to a lot of us are in like providing services, right? Or coaches or doing these things for people, but we're not doing those things for ourselves, you know? Um, and I think like I love so many times in the last year, I can tell you stories of like women looking at the back of the camera and being like, is that me? And I'm like, hell yeah, girl, it is. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And like, or somebody crying and being like, I can't believe that this is what I've built, you
Mm.
know? And those moments to me are like, that is what part of this experience is that it's twofold. It's celebrating what you've done to get where you are. And it's helping you show up. And literally, I was out carrying fire hoses this morning at 5 a.m. And I am doing that to build muscle for the next season of my life, right? And confidence is a muscle. So when you exercise it, when you show up in front of the camera with a person that feels like that they got you and that they're gonna be kind with you build confidence to keep doing that. And again, it's that exposure therapy. I always say, like, people would say to me, oh, I hate pictures of myself. I'm like, girl, hold my beer. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because you just have not been photographed by somebody who sees you yet or who really and now there are some things we have to deal with in therapy. Like I've been in therapy for
Yeah.
years and years and years of my life. So I'm not saying a photo shoot fixes that. There are things that a therapist and hard work and like working on yourself and reflection fixes. But sometimes it is also exposing ourselves to the thing that scares us with people like that. When my clients book a visionary VIP session, they have a stylist, hair and makeup, video support. They have an entire hype squad of women in a room, and it is special. When I tell you that experience is like there's nothing like it. Like it's just like all these women in this room want you to look your best, be your best, win.
Mm.
And that is like, it's a special thing. And I've heard that over and over again from clients, and I'm really proud of like inviting that kind of environment. So it's, you deserve to celebrate what you've built, and let's ride at dawn and step into the next season of what you're building, because what got you where you are is not going to get you where you're going.
Mm.
And that's not a scarcity mindset. That's a you deserve, and the confidence that you're going to continue to build will help you go where you haven't gone before, even if it's scaling back and just knowing your value and your worth, right? It's not always about scaling up. That's
Yeah.
not always what success looks like. So I just think like business and life is very seasonal. I just made a hard business decision this morning, actually, to pull back from something because it's just not the right season. And I reserve the right to edit my life at any time. And so I just want to say to women, like, edit your life, step in to confidence, celebrate what you've built, and step into the next season. And you deserve, like, I hear so often people are like, I'll do it when I have more clients. I'll do it when I lose
Mm.
10 pounds. I'll do it when. And when is the last time you hired someone because they were 10 pounds thinner?
Never.
Never.
Right.
You hire people because they are experts at what they do and they are leading by example. There's something inspirational about that, or something about that brand story that resonates with you, or that service you need. You have FOMO, that product, you have FOMO about it, whatever it is. And you don't create that by playing small.
Mm. And that also speaks to, so I talk with my clients about their non-negotiables, right? And so
Mm,
you talk about your season kind of editing and getting really, really clear on like, this is either a no, this is a not now, if it aligns in the future, or this is, very much a yes, full
yes,
body. And those non-negotiables of, time for sleep, you know, body movement, making sure you're actually eating. So often women just don't or skip it. You know what I mean? It's like we need to build strong bodies. Like that's how we do it. As well as, making time for their legacy and their goals. And, for me, one of my non-negotiables is joy and whimsy because I'm not the best version of me and who I want to be if I don't have that in my week. It just doesn't happen. I become very like blah and very low
I love
energy.
that.
Yeah. And so in talking about that, I also wanted to talk a little bit about kind of ethical imagery.
Mm,
Because for me, I'm someone when I'm connecting with the light in someone, where I'm researching them, when, we're doing a call or anything like that, if I see images of them in front of an audience that or on a stage, that typically isn't where I resonate with them. And that's okay. You know, it could be very much they feel in their power in that and things like that. But oftentimes photographs can feel staged and that comes through the lens, or there's an element of maybe you're not of others, not your clients, trying to showcase who they are. It's like the idea of people taking photos in first class and they rented, you know what I mean? And they're trying to use photography as a tool to say they are, I don't want to say above where they are, but their
Hmm.
life is very different, you know. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to kind of open up the conversation around, ethical imagery and storytelling and what that means to you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like that you brought that up. I say a lot, like, I actually want to be a successful person, not just look like one on Instagram. And that being said, success to me does not look like necessarily red bottom shoes or,
Exactly.
super expensive, whatever. It looks like time and choice
Yeah.
and options and impact, right?
Yeah.
And and maybe a nice purse every once in a while. You know what I mean? But like let's keep it real. But I think for me I learned so to backtrack, and this is what I think you have to pay attention to in your life. I saw unethical storytelling. I wouldn't have had those words at the time, but I saw people come in from the outside, tell stories about a group of people without their consent that weren't dignifying. That wasn't what they wanted to be shared about themselves. And because I spoke the language, I was like, this is not what's happening here, right? Um, and so I saw people with quote unquote good intentions. And we cannot, I say this all the time, but we cannot judge ourselves by our intentions. We have to start looking at our impact. And that is a harder thing to look at. But, when we reduce someone to their struggle or their difference or a narrative that serves us, but it's at the expense of someone else, or like you said, we're feeling this pressure to puff up. Now, on brand storytelling sessions, I do what's called curated candid imagery. Of course, like we invite models in, we have some of that stuff. But I always say to people, like my clients will say, "Well, should I buy this if I need that for the shoot?" And I'm like, "No, if you don't have that and you don't use it, no." Like
Right.
no, like now maybe if your organizer is completely disgusting and you've spilled coffee on it 16 times, I might tell you to go get a new journal, right? But we are not curating a life that is completely fake.
Right.
We are trying to tell the story in a visually appealing way because there is that, right? Like I'm
Of
not trying
course.
to like that's why I have a double chin, right? Don't trust nobody without a double chin. I'm going to get your angle, girl. But it's because and also a lot of speaker photos are horrible, right? People's
They
like
are.
their expressions when they speak. So we curate some of that so that it's flattering, but it's not inauthentic in the way where it's telling a story that's not there. So I think that we have to tell the story that we've been invited to tell with dignity, context, and excellence. And like I had a choice, right, when I lived in East Africa too, to photograph my friends and use those images to tell stories. And I probably overstepped this a couple times, right? And I had to pull back. Like actually when I went through redid my entire website, this was years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I realized I don't know that I have informed consent for some of these amazing images, so I'm taking them down.
Yep.
So I'm not at all saying I haven't made mistakes. What I think you have to do is edit your life as you realize, right? And as you know better. And I really give a lot of credit to Photographers Without Borders. I went on a trip to Guatemala with them and I got certified in ethical storytelling. And the questions that is a BIPOC like women led organization. And what is so amazing about that is like they are asking hard, uncomfortable questions,
Mhm.
and that really helped me because in the non for profit and organizational works, especially, the stakes are high. Like it's easier. And that's why actually some organizations choose not to work with me. One, maybe because of pricing, but two, it takes more time to do something the right way. And people want it quick and dirty and they just want to tell a story to get funding. But I would tell you too, the impact and the funding that is going to be people staying with you for the long term is going to be when you do that better and when you do it with dignity and intention and you really get that informed consent. So images shape how we see each other, right? They can dissuade us from loving each other. They can reinforce fear, or they can open opportunity to truly like see each other. um, and it's not neutral. Photography is not neutral. It actually lends itself to exploitation. So I want to be very careful in how I use it. I consider it a huge responsibility that I have this camera, and for me, I try to use it as a tool. I try to show, it's like a mirror to show people who they really are, the beauty, the amazingness that God created them to be, that maybe sometimes like we all lose sight of.
Mhm. Absolutely. No, there is that energetic impact through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we see that through the impact of social media. We see that through the impact of where we connect with incredible, business owners, and we also see the, downside of that,
Yeah.
very much so that you spoke to. I'd love to talk about where the audience can find you. You also have some incredible things that you've kind of released this summer, so please share, all that you have going on in your world.
Yeah, yeah, and I wanted to say one more thing too.
Oh, please.
We didn't get to this question, but as an MS warrior, I always say this: like, if for a moment the mom of 20 years is going to come out. If you are, charging ahead full steam, I actually feel like for me, I had a gift of a life disruption, of a life-changing diagnosis that forced me to take things like rest and nutrition and sleep and sleep hygiene and like therapeutic care, all those things like breath work, like all those things very much more serious. But my hope and prayer is that if you are listening, you never feel less than, and you never feel like you're not doing enough. You feel and know that you can stop right where you are, edit, make the changes you need to be the hero of your own story, and trust that like you are not going to miss what's good for you, in caring for yourself. That's never where you're going to miss it. And we don't, especially as women, we don't just care for ourselves because we're moms and so our kids deserve it. We care for ourselves because we deserve that. And so I think a lot of people will be like, I have to do it for my kids. It will have an impact on them because they will see us, and the biggest thing is modeled. But that's not why I care for myself. I care for myself because I'm worthy of caring for myself, and I just want women listening to know they are worthy of caring for themselves, hopefully before a life-changing diagnosis. So, but thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, you can find me at Hawa, Hawa Images.com. And I'm over on Insta. I have more fun on the Instagram streets than the LinkedIn streets. The LinkedIn streets be boring, y'all. But my shenanigans are more on the Instagram streets. But um, I love connecting. I'm a local photographer, brand storyteller, visual storyteller based in Nightdale, right outside of Raleigh. Shout out to Nightdale. I love my town, and I do work all around the triangle. And I've done work all around the world, Taiwan, India, East Africa. So I love traveling as well. That's always going to be a part of my heart because that's where I started my photography journey. And then, yeah, I would love, I am right now really looking to partner. Like I offer free discovery calls and I don't follow up with you to the end of the time. I just want to hear about your brand and business and see if it's aligned. Alignment, transparency are also huge values of me, and authenticity. So transparency, like I show you, my typical session produces between 150 and 250 images from one photo shoot. So it's no joke. Like you're going to be tired, but you're going to be grateful when you get that gallery because it's a lot. If you are showing up and building a business and a brand and a life that you love on social media, I would love to cheer you on. I would love to give you assets that are going to build that for you in a way that is aligned and feels like you, but like snatched and elevated.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roxanne. And thank you all
Yeah.
for watching Musings and Modalities. Tune in the
Thank you for
second.
having me, Tristen. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Tune in the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern for more fabulous episodes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Musings and Modalities. The truth has a resonance, and if you felt that today, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Be sure to share this episode with anyone ready to step into their legacy.